This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for the rant with Barbara Rose Brooker. And if you don't know who she is, do me one big favor. Go to her website. It's called agemarch.org. You will understand who Barbara really, really is. She is more than an author. She is more than a public speaker. She is more than a writing instructor. She is everything. And today she has two wonderful guests with us who are going to be part of Age March. So, Barbara, take it away and introduce your guests.
Thank you for the introduction. Today we're doing a show on enduring friendship. In our culture, where we call everyone BFFs, communicate by technology, how do we maintain an enduring friendship like Gail and Oprah, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? I want to welcome two fabulous guests who are best friends. Francee Covington of San Francisco and Rhonda Hansome of New York. But let me just tell you a couple little things about Rhonda and Francee, and then later there'll be more. Rhonda Hansome is a well-known stand-up comedian, writer, director, and actor. She's appeared on Saturday Night Live, many others, Arsenio Hall, Showtime at the Apollo and the Joan Rivers Show. She's appeared in movies and on many others. Francee Covington is a San Francisco author, writer, recently for Ms. Magazine. She just finished a very important novel that the world will see in the near future. Currently, she is president of the San Francisco Fire Commission. She retired as a television and video producer, a director, and writer for more than 20 years, serving Fortune 500 companies. There's much to say. So welcome, Francee. And oh my God, this is too exciting. I just want to ask one thing. How long have you been best enduring friends, Rhonda and Francee?
Well, we have been friends since I was 3 years old and she was 1 year old. And in the middle, we have a friend, Marcia, who was 2 at the time. So 3, 2, and 1, and our mothers were best friends. And we have remained friends, the three of us, all of these decades.
Oh my, your mothers were best friends.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes,
So
they were.
I want to go rush and get a picture. I got to show you. I thought I had it and I was not prepared. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Oh,
friends, and then the daughter's best friends. So
yes.
I want to know how an enduring friendship, what does it maintain, especially when you're in different geographical. Oh,
Wow. Oh,
Yes.
wonderful.
oh
Yes.
my God.
Uh-huh. That's
Oh, that's
that's one of them. That's great. That's
Yeah,
great. And
so
we
that's
were
your mother there, and the middle girl, Marcia, and her mother is there.
yeah.
My mother is missing.
Yes.
girl. Who's the little girl in the picture? The little.
That's Marcia's granddaughter.
Oh my God.
It's her
Armani. Armani is her name.
Armani, yeah, her niece
Yeah.
Armani, that she takes care of like a granddaughter.
Yes, yes.
So tell me, Rhonda and Francee, how have you kept it how have you kept this friendship enduring? Because obviously you're going through the rise and falls of life for each of you. How have you kept it enduring?
Well, because I've always looked up to Francee. So one of the ways that it's been continued going is that I use her as a resource. If I have something going on, I remember when I was, working on a television project, and I says, do you have any ideas about this? Can you make some suggestions? Whenever I'm on her side of the United States, I try to make it a date to spend time with her and Chandler. And then we do calls. We do calls on holidays, birthdays, and then just every once in a while just to see how you doing. If you don't make those moves, if you don't build them in, things tend to dissipate. The connection tends to dissipate. But I find whenever we talk to each other, no matter how long the time has been since we've spoken, we just pick right up, and I love it. I love it.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And Francee, in that you were in similar careers, I mean, similar careers, you had that to share as well. But in life's journeys and ups and downs, were you always there for each other?
Oh my goodness, yes. My goodness, yes, always. I mean, that's the definition of a friend. Some people have bar buddies, that they call their friends, but they don't see them outside of a drinking establishment. Well, that's not a friend. A friend is, as one card says, it has women in period dress, and the card says, oh, if I'm in jail, my good friends, will bail me out. My best friends will be in the cell next door saying that was quite a party.
Oh, true. Oh, true.
So, yeah, and when she was opening for the Pointer Sisters in Lake Tahoe, I would drive up, and see her. And then she was opening for Anita Baker in the South Bay, out of San Francisco. So my husband and I would drive down to see her. And we've just been there for each other for the very important things, the good and the sad.
And the sad was really helping you go through your mother's things after she passed, trying to work through her
Yes.
her belongings.
Yeah, that was a traumatic experience. My mother passed suddenly, and I marshaled my friends. It was Rhonda, Marcia, Susan, and Eugenia. And my mother had this huge apartment in New York. It was just absolutely huge. 6 closets, the whole bit.
Brooklyn.
And the closet in her bedroom, I'm clearing out one night, and my husband said, you can't continue like this every day. You have to, slow down. I said, no, I'm going to get this closet. And I started on that closet. I was not going to be deterred. And then I moved a few clothes, and I looked in the back, and it was a double hung closet. I was like, I'm done. I'm waiting for Rhonda and the ladies to come tomorrow. And Rhonda, is an actress as well. So she said, this is really quite a haul for some dramatic school that we should give it to. And then when her mother passed away first. We were still in our 20s then. And my mother waited for the ambulance to come, and she called me to let me know that Rhonda's mom, Della, had passed away. And so I showed up there too. And then when Rhonda got married, I was there. It was a small wedding. So my mother and I, we were right there, front and center.
That's amazing. What's also interesting is each one of you has had a very exciting career, but also challenging. So the busyness of being actor, writer, producer, all those things, how you found time always for each other. Would you call each other regularly? Or
Not on a schedule.
just when you
I
felt?
I really go when by spirit. I mean, if Fran's name or vision comes into my mind, that's when I know it's time to call. And that's the kind of bond I think it is an invisible bond that you have. When spirit moves you, that's when you make that call. I believe in that kind of intuition and moving with that kind of energy. So it's not like I would say, oh, once a month on the third Thursday, I would call her. But whenever her name or her vision or thought comes into my mind, I get right on the phone. And I find that I can't ignore that kind of spirit or intuition, that I have to honor it.
That really touched me, the invisible bond.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
what,
so many people, you call them, you haven't heard from them in a while, and you say, I'm just calling to say hi, what's going on? And they say, I've been thinking about you.
Yeah.
I said, well, why didn't you call me? I called. You were waiting for me to call you. And it's not about anything, it's just touching base, and then a lot of things come up, and sometimes it's just something funny, that happens, or you think of a situation that you had. Like one time I called Rhonda to remind her of how we used to go to the Brooklyn Fox and see Murray the K and the Swinging Soiree, when he had all of those girl groups and everything. And Rhonda, tell everybody what your mother used to do. She used to set us up.
Oh my gosh, we would have hot dogs, we would have sodas that had been frozen the night before, and we would sit through 2 or 3 shows with our food in the Fox Theater.
From the first show until the last show, and then our parents would come and pick us up. We were camped out. We had books.
You have to understand, these were top acts. These were acts that would carry a solo show by themselves. Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. It was Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. I mean, it was really something. And we would be there all day long, enjoying our snacks and the music.
The 3 of us, we would take naps because they would show the same horrible movie over and over again.
did you two know, or did you discuss when you were like teenagers, I want to be a star, I want to be a producer, I want to be an actor? Did you discuss this with each other? Did you?
Never.
So it happened autonomously.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had that to share, because I know Francie's very quiet about all her triumphs, particularly in the industry. I mean, I didn't even know till I read about it or had friends who told me about her, over years. And it's amazing what the 2 of you professionally have done and still are doing.
Well, it was actually at Francie's mother's home where I think my mother got up and spontaneously did a monologue. And I did not know that how much it meant to her to be an artist until much later in her life. And actually, after she passed, I had not only a lot of her beautiful paintings that she had done, but I found her card, a membership card for the Negro Actors Guild. And it's so funny, one of the true life stories that I tell, it's about my mother used to say she went to acting school with Tony Curtis and Harry Belafonte, and I didn't believe her. And then I found her Negro Actors Guild card, and I Googled Tony Curtis, Harry Belafonte acting class, and it was exactly what my mother had said she had done.
Yes. And we celebrate each other, in our hearts, and we let each other know, the 3 of us, how proud we are of them, and the fact that we have had such a long, good relationship. When I was still in college at the City College of New York, I was editor of one of the campus newspapers. And it helped me get into the news industry because that was my love. And I became, an intern at WCBS TV in New York, which was a big deal, There were hardly any Black people in the whole building, so for me to be a student and rotating throughout the various departments, news, programming, editorials, all of that, and to be able to walk down the hall and see Walter Cronkite at his desk in his suspenders with his feet up. And so they celebrated that because it was something to celebrate. It was like, not only does my friend have a job, but she has a job in journalism, which is great. And then Rhonda got a job, a small part in, well, you tell them, and tell them what your title is, your credit said.
Well, which one was that, honey?
Pretty Woman.
When I was in Pretty Woman, actually in the credits, it says Bermuda, if you look at the credits, but I would just say that I played hooker number 7.
How cute.
But I am in Pretty Woman, and I actually shot on the first night of shooting there with Gary Marshall. And I remember being in the honey wagon for makeup, and I said to the actress sitting next to me, "Do you know your lines?" Because I didn't realize that Gary Marshall does a lot just by improvisation. And she says, "Yeah, I think I know my lines." And then after I went out, I found out that that was Julia Roberts.
Oh, how funny.
Yes, but I always sit through the credits anyway, but when your friend is in a movie, you definitely sit through the credits. And for years, if I saw that, Pretty Woman was on TV, then I tune in to see Rhonda's little part.
Francee, I'm really impressed because when I was in college, I wanted to go into broadcasting of some sort. I didn't care where I was going to be. And back in 1968, my parents looked at me and they said, "No woman will ever make it." And yet I look back and I'm glad I went back and completed my degree. I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing today. But it's so impressive to see someone like yourself. Not only are you a woman, you are a woman of color who broke through barriers. And I can't thank you enough for that, because people like yourself that showed us that, you know what, you can be who you want to be. And Rhonda, you're doing the same thing in comedy. I mean, let's think about that. There once was a time it was very hard for a woman to be in comedy.
Yes.
Let alone a Black woman to be in comedy.
It's very challenging, and to now deal with the industry where everything has changed. Everything has, in fact, you're talking about wanting to be a broadcaster. Almost everyone is a broadcaster now.
Right.
I've got a green screen, I've got a light in front of me, I've got, earphones and microphones and all kinds of things going on. It's not just, making it through in the industry, but adapting when things change. I remember the first time I was a little depressed when the quarantine hit, and the first person who asked me to do Zoom on stand-up, I said, I just said no. What are you, crazy? You can't hear people, da da da. And then I realized that is the only game in town. I better get myself together and start Zooming my jokes. And I am so glad that I did. So it's also adapting and evolving and reinventing yourself and always trying to stay up. I pride myself in trying to at least have one foot in this century, even though I'm from the previous century.
Well, it also, and Karen, thank you for your kind words. I mean, it's about 20 years ago, someone said to me, well, Francee, you know, you're one of the pioneers of women in journalism. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. How did I get dinosaur status? And one of the people who hired me at WCBS was also the person who was co-executive producer on a show called Over Easy. And Hugh Downs was the host originally. Then it was Hugh Downs and Mary Martin together.
Oh, wow.
So when I came to California, I didn't know anyone. And it was because he knew me that he basically said, hire her. So I was able to continue my career, which was just fantastic. His name was Dick Rector, and he had been, in charge of programming at WCBS. So it really helps to have, people who see you, actually see you, and help you with your progress in whatever endeavor you choose.
Francee, I had a similar feeling when the Audelco, the audience development company here in New York City, that honors and celebrates Black excellence in Black theater. When their board of directors gave me a Pioneer Award, I said, I felt like Harriet Tubman of theater to get a Pioneer Award. I said, well, how old am I?
And you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, if I'm a pioneer, it's not the Donner Party, is it? I don't want to be on the Donner Party. I have, since, excuse me, my friend Rhonda showed you a photo, I'm gonna show you this one. Can you see that?
Oh, my.
That was my signature hairdo there, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this lovely one too.
I love those photos. They're great.
So I have a dossier, excuse me, a file that
What is your other friend, Marcia, doing? Is she in the business as well?
No.
She is actually retired from working with the police department. She had been on their call center for quite some time. And
yeah, 911 operator.
Yeah.
Very grueling work, emotionally draining and wrenching. Yes. But yeah.
But now she is reveling in the bosom of her family, her grandchildren and her children. So that's a good thing for her.
Yes.
So
Yes.
And Francee, with your work now, are you finding that with Zoom, I think it's here to stay. So you're still working. I mean, well, you've retired from your work, but you're working very high up as the president of the fire commission now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're writing and everything. But Rhonda, how is it changing? Is it going to be permanently Zoom, do you think?
Well, I really do think when I would see something like this, see people communicating like this in science fiction movies, I never thought that the reason they were doing it was because it was a pandemic, but actually this is what we are doing. And I feel like this is going to have an element of permanency even after COVID. I expect the COVID to go on for some time because people are irresponsible, and we have had gone for so long without a national federal mandate addressing it in a very serious way. But but until things, even after things open up, I think that there is going to be an aspect of this kind of communication that will continue.
Well,
definitely.
I think it's important because, people are going to need to keep costs down to some degree. And so being able to do Zoom shows, Zoom meetings. It's going to make a lot of difference. I stop and think about all the travel time too. Um, my son had an interview yesterday, and they want, they said typically they would have flown him out to their corporate office, but because of the pandemic, they did a Zoom call. And I said to my son, you know how much money they just saved? And that you can get that same kind of feeling in a Zoom call today as you can being in the same room.
I think a lot of companies are going to be downsizing and cost saving just based on this kind of model. And it may be unfortunate for some people who are, secondary to those industries or those companies that are going to have to make a change, that they won't be selling newspapers or coffee or bagels or shoe repair in where there used to be high foot traffic for people, working and commuting on a daily basis.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was watching Richard Pryor the other night, the documentary on Richard Pryor. I love Richard Pryor. But I was thinking, look, even then, he had to make records, and how his records just took off. So I'm thinking maybe now too, with comedians and people in showbiz, there'll be a whole new Zoom records or whatever.
It's very interesting that you say that, Barbara. I had been discussing making a special of my true life stories, my one woman show, Lie Baby Lie.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to have a Mother's Day release, and COVID really interfered with that. And I'm hoping to find another way to be able to get that idea out and sell it to people, which I was just so devastated when I realized this was just not going to happen for so many reasons with the COVID. But that's part of the adapting, and that's what I'm looking into now, of how to still remain an artist, not just creating, but creating and being compensated for it.
She also has Politipod that she contributes to, and a number of other outlets, and she just launched a new endeavor. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, yes. Lo and Behold Comedy. Lo and Behold Comedy is on Facebook, and we have a website at loandbehold.company. Lo and Behold is myself and Joan Rymouth. We're a comedy duo, but we are two funny women who talk about serious topics. And we usually have our latest video posted on Wednesdays by 3:00. And this week we had Leah Krinsky, who is not only a Emmy Award-winning comedy writer, but she's also a certified therapist. And we were talking about the American Psychiatric Association's apology for supporting systemic racism, for supporting structural racism. So I would love it if your audience goes to Lo and Behold Comedy on Facebook and look at some of our videos, like some of our videos and share them. And I also have a cartoon that I do. I do cartoons with a fabulous illustrator. This is the one for the new year, where you see baby New Year is not that happy about having to go out into the COVID world. It's like, welcome to the COVID New Year. But people can see this on Facebook as well. This is Politunatics.
I write this down because I've read everything about you. I have somebody I want to connect you with, what you're talking about.
Thank you. So the cartoons are Politunatics, and I love being part of a podcast, a regular podcast that you can hear on SoundCloud. It's called Politipod. I write and act with them. So, people can see, all of these things if they are on Facebook. And I frequently mention these on Twitter and on Instagram. I am on Twitter at Rhonda Hansome, and that's like a handsome man without the D.
Right. In fact, Rhonda, will you email me some of those main points? Because I really do have someone I want to connect you with.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
He's always very, very busy. She started as a puppeteer.
Oh, yes.
Seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jim Henson and Frank Oz, the founders of the Muppets, taught me puppetry, and my first performance was on Saturday Night Live with them. And then I went on to tour with the Pickwick Puppet Company. And I served for at least a year, if not 2 years, as the secretary of the Puppetry Guild of Greater New York. So I have a very checkered background.
Yes.
And
A good checkered background.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
interestingly enough, today, the only puppets that we even think of are the Muppets. Okay?
Mhm.
But I remember growing up, I mean, Sherry Lewis, okay.
Yes.
I
Was one
remember,
of my favorites with Lamb Chop.
Yep, Lamb Chop was great.
and there were so many different ones out there that, I remember every year my mother would have us make a puppet. Okay. You take a light bulb and you paper mache it and then, decorate it. And she would make it a little outfit. And every year we had a brand new puppet that we made.
That's a great idea.
Yet kids today don't even recognize really what a puppet is.
Well, my son is a preschool teacher. He majored in early childhood ed, and he loves the little ones. And so I had puppets from when he was a kid. And so he has taken them to school, and he said, "Mom, the kids are so engrossed." As soon as you bring them out, they go like this, and they're just full on engaged. So I think that, if you take some of the old fun things that we did, that today's children will relate to them. They really will. So now I know that this is Barbara Rose Brooker and the RANT.
Right.
So what's the RANT part about friendship? Because I've got a RANT part.
Well, share it with us.
All right.
Your rant.
The rant,
Especially for women. I think it's
For-
important.
yes.
It's
Yes.
very important not to let your new love interest separate you or try to separate you from your friends.
This is exactly it.
And it's the same with the men, but it's more pronounced for women because, not my friends, because they're like me. They're like, you can't tell me what to do and who to be with and how to be. But I have, done a number of stories on women who have been physically abused. And one of the things that is a through line, they always talk about how the guy didn't like their friends, the guy didn't like the family, and this whole campaign of isolation. So for women, that should be a red flag. It's like, why are you trying to separate me from my friends? So
we rely on exchanging information, and it goes beyond recipes and ideas about fashion or makeup, but also, dealing with things that are going on internally that you have someone to vent to. And I was going to mention that if a mate, if a partner tries to isolate you, it may be a very high indicator of possible domestic violence, and you have to make sure that you always keep your squad around you for your own protection.
yes, for your own physical and mental protection.
It's very important.
Yes, so that's my rant about friendship. Well, one of them anyway. If you have a rant about friendship.
Well, how many times do you hear about a divorce and you hear the woman say, "Well, he hated my friend, my best friend. It came between us." Well, good riddance to him, that happens a lot. The other thing too with friendship, what I'm so impressed by the two of you, having this bond, this respect for each other, which I feel. The respect. So many women are not kind to other women. They will say they're friends, I'm a BFF, but they're really not kind, and they sabotage other women too.
They're frenemies. They're frenemies.
So,
And I actually saw a video that was circulating on social media. I actually spend too much time on social media. I'm on there so much, I think I'm engaged to a Russian robot by now. But I saw a video where these women, it just so happened that they all were wearing head coverings, and they, were, I think it was on TikTok or some music, you could see them. And one of the women took the eyelash off of the person she was next to. And it was so indicative of this frenemy kind of thing. And it was just like 4 girls just doing their social media thing. And this one chose to take that kind of action, which was very disrespectful, that was invasive, and that in many situations could have caused a real fisticuffs,
Right.
yeah.
You have to be, it's the way I feel about it is, excuse me, the same way I feel about being in a conference room or being in a meeting and someone says something derogatory about Asians or gays or whatever. And I put a stop to it. I said, please I don't want to hear that. I don't find it humorous at all.
No, it's hard.
And the reason I speak up and have always spoken up is because I know that when I'm not in the room, they're talking about my group.
Right.
So if you think that you're with the in crowd while people are saying horrible things about other people, and it doesn't have to be horrible, it can just be dismissive, but know for sure that when you're not in the room, they're doing, and it's the same with women.
Well,
if somebody is always downing a woman, in your circle or someone they saw on TV or whatever, then
well,
you want to be around people who are proud of people, who are uplifting. So women have to have to speak up too when people start gossiping, saying, I don't know, and they will ask you about what other people are doing. Is so-and-so gay? Or it's like, I don't know, you need to ask them. When I know the answer to the question, but it's like, why should I tell you? If they wanted you to know, they would have told you. So you go to the source. Don't talk to me about it. Don't talk to me about anybody unless you're saying something worthwhile. And gossip is never worthwhile.
Don't you think that many of us grew up in a society where women wanted to get ahead? And so they learned from this male attitude about, well, if I stab somebody in the back, that's what the men do. So if the men do it, why can't I do it? And I saw that happen to me in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing everybody else's work because they were all too lazy to do their work. Okay. And then one day when I couldn't do somebody's job, it turned around and, you know what Karen's been doing for the last 10 years? She's been doing all of it. Why didn't she do it today? And the question was, whoa, why aren't they getting in trouble? But they didn't. I was asked to leave.
That's horrible.
But that's what a lot of women are like. I was pitching in because work had to get done. And in order for my work to get done, their work had to get done. But I think we've taken that male mentality and we've got to get rid of it. It shouldn't be on the male side and definitely shouldn't be on the female side.
Taken segregation. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. If a friend says to me, an ex-friend, some of my best friends they're gone. They're gone. They're gone. There's so much segregation right now, and so much racism and ageism, and not enough integration between women of different ages, races, genders, sexual orientations. I really feel very strongly about this. I think that is the really bigger issue.
I think I've been very, very fortunate in my life because I've always had friends who were not in my age group. You know, friends who were much older, and now some friends who are much younger. And so it's up to us to really try to foster these relationships. You know, because we do have common interests, whether it's, you know, knitting or cooking or horseback riding or whatever. And those interests aren't age-based.
That's right.
So we need to do that. And you'll find that a lot of young women really like to hang around with older women.
Well, we have a font of experience that they can actually benefit from.
And there's no competition.
But you say older, you're babies. You're thinking, I'm 84. Girls.
Greater means nothing.
Young girls are coloring their hair silver. I actually use that cream stuff. I put some silver on the bottom there because I always wished it would get gray. So that has nothing to do with it. But you're babies. I really think in this, it is true, Francee, what you said. It's up to us. It's up to our own. Of course it is. But generally speaking, everyone doesn't have that kind of dignity, moderation, smart, say, that you have and many others have. And there is this like big thing, you know, about groups of friends based on, you know what I mean? And
well, also older people can be very judgmental.
yes.
You know, and these are the same people who said, don't trust anybody over 30.
Yeah.
Okay, and now they're like, oh, why they're wearing their pants? That's hardly a dress. It's more like I don't even know. It's like a waistband. And then, you know, on and on. It's like, so, you know, there are two things I assume about everybody. One is everybody has his or her own brain. Number two is everybody has a mirror. And that's how they want to look.
Yes.
So there's no reason for me to bring up how you look because you know how you look. You probably spend a lot of time getting that look.
What I like about more mature women who are older, in my comedy duo with Lo and Behold Comedy, my partner is actually 10 years older than me. And later on, in next week, I will be taping a show for Robin Lane, who's 86 years old. She has a show called Badass Women 50 Plus.
She is, yes.
And she's a great director. She just actually directed me in a reading for the Actors Studio this week, Rosalie O'Neill's play, The Reluctant Vampire. And I really like being around these mature women who are vibrant. I mean, they're 10, 20 years older than me, and they are active, they are inspiring, and they
got it going on.
They got it going on, and they have seen things. It's not like everything they say is gospel, but you can take their input. You can go to them to help you suss through so many different things in life that you're experiencing.
Yeah, it's amazing. But also, don't you think the young people, say like Chandler or you know, men in their 20s and 30s, they're often ostracized because they're told they don't have any experience, they're not mature enough. And that's not always true either. Sometimes they can be more experienced and more wise than somebody at 90. So I don't think it's a one-sided.
I agree with you. I don't think it's a one-sided thing. And then also, you know, if we're all the same age working on a project, who is bringing in the new stuff? who's bringing in the new ideas? Who's bringing in the new experiences?
Point. Good
So
point.
we do need, you know, all hands on deck if we're going to particularly solve, you know, the real issues that face us, whether it's climate change or racism or whatever. It can't be, you know, just this set of people based upon, you know, what their driver's license says about them.
You know, I read
I
an
really
article.
try to stay in touch with what people who are younger than me and who are different than me are doing. And I've got to say, every time my son retweets me on Twitter, I have a thrill. It really is a thrill. But when I'm on social media, I have made it a plan to follow people who are different from me. And one area where I have been learning a lot is following people who are differently able, to those who are advocates for the disabled, because I understand that that is a whole swath of our population that is frequently forgotten on every single level.
Right.
So your work is informed, both of you, your work is informed by so many different ages and people. And
Definitely.
that's what
And-
comes through with both of you, really, what you're saying, both of you.
You know,
Well, you know,
yesterday.
Barbara, you know, I just finished my first novel, and it's about someone who's 10 years old and visiting her grandmother in North Carolina for the summer. So,
Sweet Pea, the protagonist, I've been fortunate enough to read this. It's truly a masterpiece, and I don't say silly.
thank you.
See it. The right publisher has to have it. But Sweet Pea, I never thought of as 10, if you want to know the truth. She's so, her inner life is so vibrant and persistent and wise. Sweet Pea sits on the chair right here. She's listening. Right?
She has her own chair at Barbara's house.
I love it. I love it.
But same with Rhonda's work too. I'm sure Rhonda, the little bit I've seen, and I want to see much more. You're fabulous, your articulation, everything, but I have a feeling just from what I've seen that you inform your work through a vast lens. Yeah.
Well, I think that comes from both of our mothers had very large lives. they were very strong women, very opinionated women, and they went out into the world. Francee, Marcia, and myself, we always talk about the fact that our mothers, you know, wanted us to go to museums, to go to the Fox Theater, to, you know, took us to movies and read to us. My mother read to me every single night, and I read, my ex-husband and I read to our son every single night. We have just continued the exposure and learning that we got from our mothers, actually.
And our two mothers were clothes horses. And Rhonda's mother, long before there was a line-by-line copy, she would sashay herself into Bergdorf Goodman's, and people would say, "Can I help you?" She said, "No, thank you, I'm just looking." And she'd whip out her measuring tape, and she'd be taking notes. And she would whip up these fabulous dresses for a fraction of the money. So when I started hearing about these line-by-line copies, I was like, "Oh, my Aunt Della was doing that long before."
Long ago.
Yes.
Style. You each have a very individual style. So your mothers had that. You were informed so much by your mothers.
Oh, yes.
Setting the journey, because really for women who are young, you are young, you've accomplished an awful lot, and yet you have this whole thing in front of you now. Like Francee going from being a well-known, very respected producer, director, writer, I know this, now all your volunteer work with the AIDS Commission. I can't remember everything that I read. I hope that the
Yeah,
audience.
the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, and that was during the height of the epidemic. And yes, and because I was a heterosexual woman, well, I had done a program called The Disease of the 80s that aired and helped a lot of people in San Francisco understand, outside of the gay community, what was going on. And so a lot of people had seen it, and they asked me to join the San Francisco AIDS Foundation board of directors, but they had to have a special meeting because there were no heterosexual members on the foundation board. So they had to have a special meeting, and some people say, well, I don't know, she's not a lesbian, and I don't think she belongs. And other people's like, did you see her documentary? Did you see how sensitive that was? Did you see how intelligent it was? She's on. So, and I had a ball. I had a ball doing great work.
That was
saving lives.
You know, it's interesting, Francie, because you don't have to be homosexual to be affected by AIDS. And, you know, I think that was a great idea to incorporate you. And I think we should see that more and more. We set up boards, and either we don't want the people who are infected by whatever it is, as you talked about disabilities, Rhonda, you know, my son and I belonged to Autism Speaks for years. And they only allowed him to sit on the local board because I was on it. And it was like, we got more out of him and understanding. And it was like, why are we segregating this? So as you've talked about, Barbara, ageism is part of that segregation, but in so many parts of our life. And if we can just stop looking, you know, at what we actually see and become aware of what we're seeing. Because looking at Rhonda right now, you don't look like you're funny, but I've listened to you on YouTube and you are funny. Okay. And there's Francie who's now doing volunteer work, and people would say, well, why did you leave the industry? You know, it's not up for us to ask why. It's for us to observe, become aware, and accept.
You know,
That's interesting you say that. You know, I don't look like I'm funny, but what does funny look like? You know,
You're right.
when I told my mother I wanted to go into comedy, she said, Rhonda, you should go into comedy because you come from a long line of fools.
that's a good title. A long line of fools. You know, it's
well, Aretha had that wonderful song, Chain of Fools.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Aunt Della had said that.
But again, it's there's so much to talk about, really. But the thing is, through all of this, you've been best friends. It's more than going through our Christmas card list and saying, oh yeah, I better send her a card, you know, her card. Yours is more than a card. It's a bonding. It's a lifetime. It's internalization of so much. So you don't really even need to talk that much. But when you come together, it's there. It's what family is. It's what marriages sometimes are. And there's so much. You know, I just have to say one thing, and I know I shouldn't interject about myself, but Francie, it's amazing we didn't meet in the 80s, because that's when I spent 10 years doing a book on the first women in San Francisco with AIDS. And the women were fighting.
It is amazing that we didn't meet.
During that time, because I worked with the AIDS Foundation during that time, who provided people to go to. And it's true, you know. Listen, we're still labeling people. We do a whole program on the labels in our society right now. So I am so glad that Rhonda is out there talking about serious, deeply serious things with irreverence
Yes.
and with her,
And humor, yeah.
Mhm.
her
Well,
voice is important.
One of the things that I do on Politipod, the podcast, is I have my own segment that's called Real News. And the anchor is a very sensitive, she's born under the sign of Cancer, which is a very emotional sign. And so whenever she's talking to these people, she really, she sometimes can't control herself, you know, like when she was talking to Betsy DeVos or people who are in charge of distributing PPE and screwing it up. So it really, it really is part representing me. But that's the Real News on Politipod.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Are you going to?
Barbara, again, I circle back to something that you said. You were talking about married people. And so this is many years ago. A group of friends, you know, we're sitting around at brunch, you know, all women, we're talking, and somehow the subject of infidelity came up. And someone said, you know, talking about cheating, and someone asked me, well, Francee, would you ever cheat on your husband? And I said, well, I might cheat on my husband, but I would never cheat on my best friend. And my husband is my best friend.
I love it. It's wonderful.
And he was.
He was a great guy. He was a great
Yes.
Sorry
So,
for that.
so if you're gonna marry somebody who's a true friend to you.
Absolutely.
True friend.
So
Yeah,
many
don't
people-
be swayed by the, you know, the nice hair and the car and the da 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 and all that. Means
the
nothing.
this.
You can get your own car.
So, you know, also, I just want to say what's interesting to me is that I think I've known Francee a while, and I'm sorry I didn't turn that off. Some 700 number calling, but I think the world needs to hear more from both of you. And I know you're out there. I'm not saying you're not out there. You are, but this has to be continued. You know, the conversation of not only friends, but the work that you are doing, and that you're not stopping. So many, I hear so many women saying, well, it's the pandemic and, you know, I can't go back to this and nothing's changed. But integrating your work through new channels, particularly Rhonda in her work, I'm really just wrote that down. I'm going to get back to you today. I'm getting that. I don't know why I thought of Richard Pryor because, well, first of all, I did really love. I'm sorry, I loved his work, and
an icon.
did you too? Oh my God, yeah, I thought he was a genius, really. And when he had the records out the other night, oh my God, they may not be in the form of records, but they could be on the form of Zoom records. Anyway, to be continued on all of that. But your best friends, I want to ask one more thing. During the holidays, do you celebrate the holidays together on Zoom?
We have rarely done that, Francee. You know what? I think the times when we are actually together, like when you came in for the event at City College, you know, we got together and had a fabulous meal, and you know, when I came out to
Several fabulous meals.
yes, yeah. But we may connect now if we're in COVID mode for a few more years. We may start doing that. But our thing has been more spontaneous and from my part, just spiritually motivated. I need to talk to my girl. I want to connect with my girl now. You know. But
spiritually, because I do believe the interconnection
Mm,
is the most important.
yes, and don't put it off. If you think of a friend, say, and you haven't heard from them, don't say, "Oh, well, let me finish folding the laundry and then I'll call," because something will come up. Just call, and it doesn't have to be a long thing. It's just, I was just thinking about you and that time when, we did this or that or the other thing, and you can always make arrangements to call on the weekend at a certain time and talk more. But you will get such a lift just from hearing your friend's voice.
I love
You
it.
And
know.
we need that lift. We need that kind of interaction during this time because our lives are different. Our lives are very different. Our lives are circumspect. I don't know if I'm the only one who wakes up every morning going, "Somebody hug me, damn it,"
Yes, you're the only one because I'm very particular about who I know. But like my friend Eugenia, I'll just call her up, anytime, and even if you just write a note, I mean, getting an actual, even if it's a postcard, getting an actual communication that is not a solicitation
It's wonderful.
is cause for
Unusual.
celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are many ways to keep in touch with friends.
Yeah.
Many ways.
And it is enduring. And you don't hear a lot about enduring friendships. You really, really don't. You hear a lot about, they're quick or they're whatever, they're good at the time, but the enduring friendship.
Well, Barbara, I have to tell you, I'm very fortunate that I have Francee and Marcia in my life since I was a baby, but I'm actually on a text thread with 3 friends from high school, actually. And we say good morning and good night every single day.
Love it.
And I am blessed to have long time pals, people who knew me from actually, being a baby and also from teenagehood. So I recognize that I am very, very fortunate in having people around me who know me and who I can feel comfortable with and trust sharing myself with and my time with them.
And they come to her performances as a group. They go to her performances. Yeah. But I have friends from not too many from high school, but a few friends from college. And Eugenia Wilshire, that you know her, Rhonda. She's one of my dear friends. And we've got friends from grad school and friends from when I worked on various shows.
We work to cultivate those relationships, and that's why we have them.
And there is no friend like an old friend. There is no friend like an old friend. I mean, there's such a, when you're in the company of old friends, you just relax,
Absolutely.
you just relax.
Yeah, it's very comforting.
Mm-hmm. And you have a friend from grade school.
Norma Kaufman.
That's right.
3rd grade.
Third grade.
Showed me about a year ago when the writing group, we met for coffee afterwards. She brought some pictures of Norma and myself and our other friend who passed, in junior high school or something, with our socks and my big thick glasses and big bracelets. I mean, it was so
Yes.
But yes, there is really nothing like the old friends. It's family. And I hope anyone out there is listening to this and will call their best friend today. In fact, I'm going to give Norma a call today.
Good. And tell her I said hi. I love Norma.
That was wonderful.
And of course they will see the podcast. And Rhonda, I must say, I don't usually say this, but I do feel, I love Francee. Let me just say, I was fortunate enough to be invited years ago to one of your birthday parties. I remember your friends, all your friends. Of course, they're all well known in the industry. I remember sitting here like, oh my God, there's Belva, David. There's this, I've seen them on TV. But I do feel a connection with you, Rhonda, and I think you're brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Me too. I think you're brilliant too. I know that comes as a surprise, but I just wanted to say it.
Yeah, but I pay you to say that.
I think Francee is going to have a book that's going to make the world weep and smile. And I'm very lucky to have Karen, who was as a friend, because she allowed me to have a voice and to learn all of this, to be, talking to wonderful people. So I think all of your
I loved the show where Karen said of you, Barbara is the epitome of friendship.
She is. Absolutely.
When she said that, I was like, oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I mean, no matter which directions we go or whatever, I mean, Karen is a friend. And, it was Karen who said, I've given 5 age marches since 2009, but I couldn't get arrested, because nobody wanted to talk about age. And Karen said, well, now that the COVID's here, give a virtual one. And then what happened is Revital Ash sponsored and did some funding or doing some funding. And then my daughter brought in wonderful producers. And the next thing we know, it's going to be worldwide so I am.
That was a wonderful idea, Karen.
Well, you know what? We all need to come together. We need to hear our voices because we all have something in common.
Yes.
And that commonality is that we want to have friends, we want to be comfortable, and we want to succeed. And what succeeding means is different to all of us. Okay. I knew that I wanted to use my broadcasting voice at some point, and going back to school and getting my master's and then being kicked out of corporate America, I found it. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. And meeting women like yourself that care about each other and the people you meet, that makes my life so worthwhile.
Doing something important, and it's really amazing. I want to know why I keep getting a bar. Your connection is unstable.
Because your connection is unstable.
Much like my mental attitude.
Yes, yes. Mine too.
Well,
your time. I want the audience to know, first of all, Francee, where can they reach you?
Reach me?
Yeah. Or your website, or can you, if someone wants.
I don't have a website. I'm not selling anything, so I don't have a website. And I've got.
But she has that book ready to sell.
Yes. Yes. And I have 7 friends on Facebook. So I never use Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
I took a class many, many years ago. I took a class on new innovations and technology and all that stuff. And so at OLLI, Osher Lifelong Learning Institute in San Francisco. So here I am, at the computer with everybody else in the class. And the teacher says, oh, okay, you're live now. I said, live what? And he says, yeah, you got a Facebook page. I said, I didn't want a Facebook page. I just wanted to know how to do it. So I'm still way, way, way behind. Anyway, I like my friends to be, in the same room with me if possible.
I love that.
Well, they can Google you. And for any agents or publishers who are out there scouting, she's already has lots of interests. But if you want to reach Francee Covington, Google her, Francee Covington. Now, Rhonda, I have gone on and YouTube and so forth. But could you tell the audience where would be best to?
The best place to know what I'm doing, if your audience is on Facebook, they can go to Rhonda Hansome Comedy. Rhonda Hansome Comedy on Facebook, and I'm at Rhonda Hansome on Twitter. And I'm also on Instagram as Rhonda Full, with 2 L's. And I really want people to be aware of my presence on Facebook with Politunatics, the cartoons that I do with the art of Scott W. And lo and behold, comedy, it's a whole new way of looking at conversation with my partner, Joan Rymeth. Lo and behold, comedy. We have a think tank, and we have conversations, funny conversations about serious topics.
Love it.
Great.
All right, well, she's got all that going on, and I guess I should have a page.
I love it. Competition.
But I know when your book is ready to explode, you will have all of those things. You will have the Facebook, you'll have the website, you'll have everything cooking, because you are tremendous. You are tremendous.
Thank you.
All blessings to you both and to friendship.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
you as well.
Everybody stay safe. Don't forget, when you go out, wear your mask.
Absolutely.
Uh,
And
Yeah.
thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yes,
I get to see my fabulous friend that I love.
yes.
love it.
It's been a lot of fun.
well, we'll do it again, especially at
Okay.
agemarch.org.
Yes,
good.
yes, we'll be there.
Wonderful. Take care, everybody.
You too, bye-bye. Thanks.